Welcome to Physiology Tales, a place where I explain the mechanisms of physiology in easy to understand stories and pictures. Come learn with me. Today we're learning about traits. This story is called Love at First Sight. It was a beautiful Sunday morning when Doodlebob firmly grasped his magic pencil and headed out of town, where he planned to draw a series of street art pieces on local buildings. To Doodlebob, street art was a way to express not only his opinions on life, but also his feelings. With his confidence, creativity, and his magic pencil, he was able to show his feelings about the world to all of Bikini Bottom, whether it was scrawled under the shadow of a fire hydrant or scribbled on the side of a building. He approached a nice tall building that seemed suitable for street art. He began walking in the other direction, and as he wove through the maze of winding streets in search of a new structure, his eagerness to scribble on something increased, and so did his speed. He ran faster and faster and faster until he couldn't stop running, and soon collided into a local citizen. "Ow!" said the voice. Doodlebob rubbed his eyes and brushed off his shoulders. He looked up to see a stunning squirrel with a glass tank on her head. Doodlebob froze. "Hi there, partner. My name is Sandy. What's yours, little buddy?" Doodlebob froze. The squirrel was very pretty, even gorgeous. He had never seen anyone that pretty in his life. But he couldn't get the words out. The squirrel giggled. "Oh, you're so cute," she said as she reached to pinch his cheek. Doodlebob blushed. "Yay, I'm cute," he thought to himself. "I'm Sandy Cheeks. I'll see you around, I guess." Sandy disappeared around the corner, leaving Doodlebob behind. He whipped out his pencil and began to draw on the side of a nearby building, not stopping to even think about what he was drawing. This time, Doodlebob was really expressing his feelings. Ever since he met Sandy, he had this interesting thought, a feeling he'd never experienced before. With a couple more pencil marks, the piece was done, and Doodlebob was satisfied. He had drawn a giant picture of a heart with Sandy's name in it in curly cursive writing. The next morning, Doodlebob passed the wall just in time to see Sandy stealthily disappear behind one of the corners. She had seen the wall. Doodlebob looked closely at Sandy's name inside the heart and noticed that someone had written something next to it. After peering closer, he saw that it was her number. Doodlebob called her on the phone, and only days later they had started going out together. Doodlebob would take her around Bikini Bottom looking for street art, and Sandy would take him back to her dome where they would play endless games of karate. One day, as Sandy was passing the wall where the heart was, she saw that Doodlebob had added the words, "Will you marry me?" beneath her name. She accepted, and they were happily married. About 5 months later, Sandy had 2 beautiful children, Soodlebob and Dandy. Soodlebob was a spitting image of his father, except for the fact that he was air-breathing. Dandy looked exactly like Sandy and shared all the same traits as her. Some traits that are possible for this sponge living under the water and this squirrel are shown in this table. I'm going to explain them to you guys. So the first characteristic is body shape. So the dominant shape between the two would be the square of the sponge. So Doodlebob is a square, so he is labeled A for dominant. And the second body shape is squirrel-shaped, Sandy's. So hers is labeled a lowercase a for recessive. The next is 2-dimensional or 3-dimensional. Doodlebob is 2-dimensional, so he gets a capital B for dominant. Sandy is 3-dimensional, so she gets a lowercase b for recessive. The last characteristic is water breathing or non-water breathing. Non-water breathing is dominant, so that is Sandy's trait, so that's a capital D. And water breathing is recessive, that is a lowercase d. So here we have this table which shows each Punnett square of different outcomes that their children could have. So for example, you cross them in these corners. So you have ABD and ABD here. So this child would get an AA, BB, and DD, and so on. So you take the 2 A's, and those are combined to get AA. The 2 B's are combined to get BB and DD. And then this child is the father's shape, so he is a square, with an air-breathing trait and mother's features. our probability table shows that the phenotype of being a square, being two-dimensional, and air-breathing, there is a 42% chance that Sandy's and Doodlebob's children will look like that. For being a square, two-dimensional, and water-breathing, there's a 14% chance that their children will look like that. For being a square, three-dimensional, and air-breathing, there's another 14% chance for that. For being a square, three-dimensional, and water-breathing, there's a 5% chance. For being a squirrel, two-dimensional, and air-breathing, there's a 14% chance. For being a squirrel, two-dimensional, but water-breathing, there's a 5% chance. For being a squirrel, three-dimensional, and air-breathing, 5% chance. And finally, a squirrel, three-dimensional, water-breathing, 1% chance. So these are 8 different types of phenotypes that their children could have. So 8 different traits that each child could have. So for their son, Pseudobob, he looks very much like his father and shares many of the same traits and interests as him. The only difference between Pseudobob and Doodlebob is that Pseudobob is air-breathing like his mother. And Dandy is the daughter, and she is exactly like her mother, Sandy. And that's it. Thanks for watching.